Hey guys, so something a little bit different today. One of the things I had trouble with around the trip is actually a major problem, diff centers. I kept doing diff centers. So in the space from Sunshine Coast to Cairns, I'd done one. In the space from Cairns to Broome, I'd done another one. And then in the space from Perth back to Queensland, I'd done another one. So what keeps happening is I keep flogging out the pinion. I keep getting horrible backlash. I keep getting a lot of slop. So basically, most of you will know that diffs aren't cheap. They're not really something that you want to keep on replacing all the time. So, and the other thing is, if my missus hears the word diff one more time, I'm going to get shot. I guarantee you that. So, yeah, last one I got built in Perth with a solid spacer. I thought this was going to be, you know, the end of my diff problems, but unfortunately, it's not. So, pulling my hair out on what to do, basically. Now that we're just about to set off again, we're once again 4-tonner cruiser. We're going to have 2-tonner toy hauler this time. That's a lot of stress on the driveline, and I just don't want to do another diff. So I've stumbled across Duncan down here at the Top Cog Differential and Gearbox Centre in the Sunshine Coast, Caloundra. So basically, he's building me a diff that we probably should have built from the start. Yeah, sorry about that, the GoPro cut out on me. So basically there's this torque worm LSD type system. I'm just going to shut up completely and let Duncan tell you about it, because I'll be sure to mess it up. So you want to give us a bit of a look at what we've got going on, Duncan, or say g'day anyway? This is Duncan.
G'day.
40 years in the industry, and today hopefully we're going to build the last diff centre for the cruiser.
So what we're doing is replacing the stock limited slip unit, which relies on clutch plates and friction between the internal ears and the external eared plates. Now, in between this is a spring which is constantly loading the clutch plates. So as the clutch plate wears, which this is extremely worn, we end up with this backlash effect.
Right.
So that's the clunk on and off the throttle.
Yep.
The unit that we provide, the Speedmaster torque worm, it doesn't use conventional planetary gears. It uses helical gears. So that little gear can drive that gear, but that gear can't drive that gear. So when one wheel tries to come out of time,
yep,
it goes into bind. So we've got the torque worm all set up. This is a basic test. Virtually no effort.
Yep.
But because they're a torque biasing unit, they will increase the bind or the limited slip effect when there's torque applied. So mate, if you can give us a hand here and just apply a bit of torque.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Wow.
And that's just with one hand.
Yeah, bugger
So
all pressure.
You multiply that by a couple of 100 foot-pound of torque.
Yeah.
And these are absolutely bulletproof strong.
Yeah.
Used in the right application.
Yeah.
You know, as I said to you before, if you are prone to lifting wheels and you're a more, let's call it an extreme four-wheel driver where you are articulating and lifting wheels, this may not be the unit for you. You may have to go to a locking unit.
Yeah.
But for your application where you're very rarely ever going to lift a wheel, it is ideal.
Yeah. And a lot of weight, lugging a lot of weight.
Absolutely.
On and off the gas, you know, quite often, a lot of drag, pressure on the driveline. So that's basically our old setup. She's had it, this one. And you can see that's the backlash system that Duncan was telling you about. Basically, we remove that, don't we?
Yeah.
In this.
Yeah. So, another problem in the diff that was built in Perth, I believe you were supplied the wrong oil.
Okay.
And that has accelerated the wear in the clutch plates, because every time you go round a corner, the clutch plates are activated.
Yep.
They're skidding on each other.
Yep.
A limited slip diff in this application requires a minimum GL5
Yep.
good quality limited slip oil.
Yep.
If you've used a GL4 oil,
Yep.
this is what happens. And the wear rate on the Cromwell and pinion is accelerated tenfold.
Yep.
So, as we stipulate here, with our units, we like to use a straight EP 140, not a split grade, not an 85 140.
Yep.
And it's really the only diff oil that
Yeah.
I carry.
Yeah.
It's the only diff oil I've
Yeah.
used for the last 25
Okay.
years.
Yep.
Pretty much goes into everything.
And that's PENRITE, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Used PENRITE since I
Yeah.
can't remember when.
So this system actually has basically no backlash at all, eh? No. So it doesn't get sloppier over time. It's just, it is what it is. It's a mechanical unit that doesn't get worse, or so we actually shouldn't feel much clunkiness in the driveline. Providing
You won't
yeah.
feel anything out of the back of
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. Which would be nice, because they do, like, straight out of the box, they're a bit sloppy, aren't they?
Well, even a non-worn Toyota LSD, I can easily put two 20,000 shims, one on each side, and that's pretty much from brand new.
Straight out of the factory. You reckon they're too sloppy from the start?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And anyone who knows anything about Land Cruisers or Hiluxes know that the standard LSDs,
Yeah.
albeit are strong,
Yep.
they're just not a very effective
Yeah.
LSD.
Yeah. And the theory behind these Speedmaster torque worms, was it based on big horsepower cars? What was the theory behind designing it, you think?
This principle is 150 years old.
Yeah.
Worm gear, worm wheel.
Yeah.
But where we have perfected it is in the preloading device inside, which I won't pull the unit apart.
Yeah.
But we have a preloading device inside, and also the amount of pinion gears that we use in pretty much most of the units that we do. They have 6 pinion gears, as opposed to other brands that will only have anywhere from 3 to 4 and sometimes 5.
Yeah.
We try and jam 6 in there every time.
Yeah.
And 8 other diff shops in Brisbane can't be wrong.
Yeah.
You know, we're supplying 8 shops.
It's just a smarter design, really, isn't it? And
there's 90 years of think tank goes into these units.
yeah.
The fellow that taught me nearly 40 years ago, he and I are good friends, and he's got 10 years on me, so there's nearly 90 years of experience. And we've looked at every unit between Quaif and True Track and all these other brands, and we have dissected them, and now we've perfected it.
Yeah.
Where we've picked the eyes out of all the faults out of these other units. You know, even to the point of, we don't use bolts, we use studs and nuts. Where with the other units, I've seen it many times where the bolts have actually started to back themselves out.
Right.
Where this does not happen
Yep.
with these units.
Right.
So we can pretty much start.
Throwing it together.
Yeah.
Yep. So to give you guys an idea, each diff center, like, I mean, to get recodes is about $1,300. It's not much more to go to this option. I just wish I had known about it a bit earlier. So if you are having diff problems, or, you know, I'm starting to get into the point where I like to do stuff once and right. I don't mind spending that little bit of extra money. So if you if you keep doing diffs like me, this is definitely an option for you. So we'll go ahead and throw it together, and just keep showing you some footage. So, old Duncan, he's got about 40 years in the industry, so I just get a lot of confidence out of talking to him. Everything starts to make sense now, and yeah, I'm now also confident in the sense now that if I'm on the road and I'm having dramas, I can ring him and he can make sense of something and explain exactly what's going on. So we've taken some precautionary measures with my cruiser. We keep doing pinions, so it made me do a full articulated, a full droop extension and a full compressed extension of my rear diff. He wanted me to bind up the suspension, or, you know, compress the suspension as much as I could, and then take measurements from pinion to make sure that we weren't actually closing the tail shaft. We were making sure that basically the slip joint wasn't running out and it wasn't bottoming out. So I've also replaced the tail shaft, the front drive shaft. I've got a new gearbox transfer sitting there, so I'm like, why do I keep doing diffs? But hopefully we've got to the bottom of it now, and this will be the last diff I ever have to put in. So
I put a white marking compound on there, so then I can check to see where the pinion makes contact with the crown wheel, and we can get our correct backlash, carrier load, and pinion location.
Okay.
So that's
just like a bit of it's a bit of like just notifies you where it's at kind of thing. So that is the unit.
Even little things like making the crown wheel register slightly longer, so the hemisphere supports the whole underneath of the inside of the crown wheel, not just by a couple of mil.
Okay.
It's little things like that, you know, we're always working on.
So by doing that, does that determine where it sits in and out?
Correct. So
that just sits in like a sleeve, and then but the measurements or the thread on that will push it in and out.
Yeah. So the bearings sit in the pocket, and then these screw adjusters will allow me to get preload on the tapered roller bearing and to control the backlash.
Yeah.
So that's the gap between the pinion and the crown wheel.
Okay. I've always wondered how it works.
That's a little wide, but I run marking compound the whole way around, and then when I pull it around, it tells me if there is any run out, the mark will actually travel up and down the tooth.
Okay.
And also, if there is a bump on the crown wheel and pinion, it will show up as a sharp line, and I can normally massage that off with the little Dremel.
Yep.
Mark is perfect.
Yeah, you can see it's right in the centre there.
And I reckon that is probably about 1/8 thou backlash.
So how do you check that? Oh, right.
I haven't used this for. I haven't used it for a while. I've
You
got
just
like the face so I can actually read it.
So is that because you just know?
Yeah.
Do you want me to come over that side and? So they've got a dial on it, does it?
Yeah. Seventh thou.
7th hour. It was close. And what do you want?
Oh, anywhere from 7 to 9.
Yeah.
And that, my friend, is done.
That's us.
We're done.
It's Friday. We might knock her off, eh? So, thank you, Duncan, mate. Appreciate it. Let's give this thing a good hard slog. See how she goes.
Now, there's one more thing.
Mm-hmm. Oil.
I spoke to my friends at PENRITE, and they said, so you don't put the wrong oil in it ever again.
Oh, look. There you go. So that's what you swear by, is it? Duck's nuts?
Absolutely. That's the only oil I carry for differentials.
Yep.
It goes into everything from a Morris Minor to a Mack truck. Everything.
Really?
Yep.
So just disregard what they say and just, that's the one.
Because of our ambient air temperatures here, I find that the split grade is a little too light. If you work out mechanical temperature of the differential, the ambient air temperature, which is normally 30 odd degrees,
Yeah.
radiating road heat, which can get up to 70, 80 odd degrees, the temperatures are through the roof.
Yep.
Pretty much Australia-wide,
Yeah.
unless you live in Texas. So that's why I use that.
Okay.
They've also given you a little party pack there with a few,
Nice.
few treats.
Nice.
And there was only one more thing I wanted to touch on, is Land Cruisers and tail shafts.
Okay.
This is a huge problem, has been since the dawn of time.
So bring me tail shaft in to go and have a look at it as well. Did you actually get a chance to look at the slip joint? Is there much? That's only done 10,000 Ks, that one. Yeah.
So, a tail shaft, as the suspension goes up and down, the tail shaft has to plunge. Hence why they put this slip joint in here.
Yep.
Now, that grease nipple only requires a tiny amount of grease. If you find that you're putting grease in here and you can see it pumping itself out, it's hydraulic, the shaft.
Yeah.
And the shaft is now a hydraulic ram, and it pushes on the front pinion.
Smashing your pinion, smashing your output on your transfer.
It just pushes the tapered roller bearing into itself, and it just overloads it. You're 10,000 kilometres and they're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the trick is, if you think that you've over-greased it, pull the grease nipple out, get on the tow bar and bounce up and down, or even for that point, undo it at one end and expel all the grease out of it.
Yep.
Then put the grease nipple back
Okay.
in. The tail shaft has to move freely.
Yep.
It can't be jammed up.
Yeah. Thank you, mate. I'm keen to throw her in, and I'm actually really keen to see how it feels, because my cruiser has always been shocking for backlash. Now, I've chased it. I've chased it as far as I think I can, but anyway, keen to put it in. Thanks, Duncan. Thanks, Speedmaster.
And PENRITE.
And PENRITE. Thanks, guys. Alrighty, so we're back again down at our top cog differential and gearboxes at Calandra here. So basically, we got back, put the back diff center in, filled it up with oil, all sweet, all good and well. Had a look at the front, noticed that the seal was actually leaking and the pinion had a bit of slop in it too. So that was one thing Duncan wanted me to check. So I got home, give him a ring. This one's no good either. So we're putting the Speedmaster in the front as well. So we're stripping it all out. I'll show you now. And I'll let Duncan tell you about it. It's something to do with a Hilux. So
This is a Hilux rear that what I do, and I'll pull it apart shortly, is I reverse the helix angle on the axle and pinion gears so they run in the correct rotation. Otherwise they're a bit too savage and you will damage the unit. So I'll just pop this pinion together, I'll get this apart and have a look.
Sweet. So they are the same size diff as a Hilux and the back's a bit bigger, is that right?
Correct. So what Toyota did, for a couple of reasons, is this is what we call a reverse rotation high mount. So it's actually a Hilux diff upside down.
Okay.
They've done it for two reasons. It gives you a better tail shaft angle because you've lifted the pinion height up. But what it also does, in the earlier Land Cruisers, the front and rear diffs were the same.
Yeah.
But in the front, they would drive on the concave side of the tooth, which is the weaker side.
Okay.
Being a high mount, they run on the convex side, which is the strongest part of the tooth.
Right.
That is one of the main reasons, is for strength.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Good old Toyota. So what we were saying before, Duncan, about you've pretty much smelt like diff oil for the last 40 years.
I've got that much diff oil in my skin.
It's funny. It's a strong smell, isn't it?
I love it. I use it for aftershave as well. But I can't catch fish.
Mate, I cop it when I get home after a day of working on diffs, eh?
That you put in the front of a four-wheel drive will affect the steering. So in an all-wheel drive, we leave the preload way down.
Okay.
It will still work as an LSD. So I can prove this. So that's basically got virtually no preload.
Mm-hmm.
But if you'd like to hang on to that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's starting to come up.
Already, yeah. So
But
you're backing it off a bit, are you?
Yeah, but because yours is a part-time, and we want it a little more aggressive, the diaphragm washes inside.
Oh,
We
wow.
now have preload.
Wow. Shit. So it's applying equal power to both axles a lot easier, a lot quicker.
It just makes the unit more aggressive.
Yep.
And react faster.
Yep. There she goes. Front one back together and done with the Speedmaster torque worm. So front and rear Speedmasters. How do you reckon she's going to go, Duncan?
Further than you've ever gone before.
Soft sand, it's going to eat it up.
It's now a true four-wheel drive.
Yeah, there we go. Wrap her up. She's done. Thank you, Duncan.
No worries. Just clean that housing out, get rid of all the old oil and water and everything else that was in there.
Yep.
And
take it easy on it for the first. Nah.
A little bit of a break-in, but
yeah.
Because we're not replacing the crown line pinion, you can normally get on it.
Yeah, I get.
Straight out of the box.
Yeah, that makes sense.